People know I get dates and times mixed up, don't you? But tomorrow's real interesting. You know, I have one of these calendars that tells all the holidays, even the unusual ones around the world. And tomorrow, in Japan, it's Respect for the Aged Day. And I thought, ooh, there's some things that probably just shouldn't be a holiday. I think in Green Valley, we'd rather say, I'm still rockin' day. Don't you think? I'm still rockin' instead of respect for the age. It just doesn't work for me. I mean, we're part of the one presence, one power. We're still rockin', aren't we? We still have access to that power. So as you know, I've been doing this series on the 12 powers. And I'm all done. I ran out of powers. And of course, I'm back to, okay, what do I talk about this week? And I was saying to Michael, gee, you know, what am I going to talk about this week? And I'm done with the 12 powers. And he said, well, invent your own power. You can invent another one. And we kind of laughed. And at first, I started thinking about Superman and Mighty Mouse. And, you know, what kind of power would you like if you could invent your own power? I thought, well, let's see, seeing into the future, reading minds, telepathy, you know, there's all kinds of things. But then I got quiet and paused for a while, and it came to me immediately. You're going to be disappointed. You're going to be disappointed because it's what I talk about more than anything else, and that is the power of surrender. Sorry, people, but that's my power, and I keep going back to it. You know, it opens the way, and there are some people that don't like the word, and I understand, especially if you've been abused or something. If you don't like the word surrender, try let go and let God. Try give way, yield to a higher power. Whatever works for you, but it's all about letting go. In sweet surrender, in total trust, so divine love is going to come in and do its thing. I was listening to the blues this week. Keb Mo, are you a Keb Mo fan? He's my favorite blues singer because Keb Mo sings the blues but makes it sound happy. And so there's a song he sings, and I gave it to Amber, and hopefully we can sing it one of these next couple weeks. And he says, you know, if your problems don't go away and you're worried both night and day, anybody relate to that? His answer is hand it over. Hand it over. Get on your knees and pray. I don't do the on your knees thing. I pray standing up, I pray sitting, I can pray running. Don't need the knees part, but I love the whole hand it over, and it's got a wonderful lively tune to it. Because our ego believes that we have the power, that it's the human power, and we control and struggle. Anybody here try to do it yourself, controlling and struggling? Now the catch-22 about that is when we worry and struggle, it literally shuts down the power. And that's why I say it is the power that opens the way for all the other powers. Because if you're doing it yourself, if you're controlling and struggling, and I can go there as much as the next person, it literally shuts down all the other powers when we're struggling. Letting go is the train ticket out of here. It's a train ticket out of the third-dimensional reality. Aren't you tired of this dualistic thinking? You know, the realm of opposites, where if we have love, we have hate. If we have kindness, we have cruelty. I'm ready to go out of here, and the only way is letting go. But our egos prefer the struggle. Why, I don't know. We prefer the struggle. I remember way back in ministerial school, I was doing a paper, and I was just struggling with this paper, just couldn't get started, didn't know where I was going to go with it. And a friend of mine said, well, what's the topic of your paper? I said, grace. And we both hysterically laughed for about 10 minutes, and I was struggling over a paper on grace. And then I let go, and of course, as soon as I let go, it flowed. It was all right there. But today, more than ever, collectively, you know, we're doing it collectively now, not just as individuals, but knowing that we are one. Together as a collective consciousness, we have to let go more than ever. Last Thursday was the World Day of Prayer, and so many of you came, and we sat together in meditation and prayer for the world, praying for peace and for oneness and for unity. In that holy instant, it can happen. And I learned a new word this week. I've never used this word before in my whole life. I'll probably trip over it trying to say it. Sublimity. Anybody ever use that word? Sublimity. And here's what it means. It's the instant in which one thing is about to become something else. The instant in which day becomes night. A caterpillar becomes a butterfly. A fawn becomes a doe. An experiment becomes a result. A boy becomes a man. A girl becomes a woman. It's that instant when something becomes something else. And so collectively, together, we're going from a consciousness of fear and separation to a consciousness of unity and oneness. From hate to love, from fear to peace. The Course in Love calls that we're in the in-between time, and that in-between time, before we get from here to there, is so frustrating. I get so impatient, don't you? Here we are, it's 2017, and we're still into this stuff. We're in that in-between time, sublimity, that time. And in that time, the instant can happen when the shift happens. But meanwhile, it's frustrating, and I get so impatient. I'm like a little kid saying, are we there yet? Are we there yet? And you know, a lot of us think, you know, if I could just get out of daily life, my daily routine, and go to a mountain and pray, wouldn't that be easy if we could just sit on a mountaintop and go om all day long? Oh, it would be so easy to be into love and oneness. But I'm sorry, here, with each other, is where the rubber meets the road. Right here, with all the problems, with all the challenges, with all the different personalities, here is where the rubber meets the road. It's one thing to talk about this in theory. It's one thing to sit on a mountaintop and go, but to have to be it, to have to express it, and live it with all the problems and the challenges. And then we have Jesus who said, people, don't you know you are gods? Wow, don't you know you are gods? We are creative beings together. What are we doing? This stuff takes practice. And we've been practicing for a long time. But embroiled in daily life, the day-to-day is where we have to make it work. If we can make it work here with each other and all the challenges we can get into, we can make it anywhere. And collectively, those ripples go out from here. I call this the practice field. Here's where I practice. Do I get perfect at it? Nope, I practice, practice, practice in the practice field. So sublimity is when it finally happens. And I compare it to Amber when she writes music, or Mari when she's written some songs too. When you're writing music, you have the idea of the song. It's not there yet, but you've got the idea. And then Amber, don't you build on it, and you improve on it, and you write it, and rewrite it, rearrange it, and maybe at some point you even collaborate with somebody else on it, and all of a sudden there it is. All of a sudden, you know it's complete. Sublimity. We're there. We finally went from here to there. It is complete. And again, us human beings together are in the in-between place where the rubber meets the road, where we have to practice it and envision it and speak the word of it until it comes. I was thinking about this weekend. I was cleaning out my computer. You know, I don't like clutter, and I always have clutter. I just don't like it. And so I'm in my computer, delete, 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 and I came across this old file from about 2 years ago. And Cheryl, did she just poke you in the elbow? You do that too. I found this old list in my computer that I had used when back, I think it was when Paris was bombed and we were going through the horror of that, and one of my friends called me or emailed me, and she's one of these, what are we going to do? We got to do something, you know. What is your church doing? Are you out there picketing? You know, what are you doing? You know, and it kind of overwhelmed me at first. What are we going to do? You know, how do I solve that problem? It's so big. And so this is what I wrote back to her, and I think I've read it to you before, but I found it again today, and it's like, this is still what we have to do today. The world is crazy. It's insane out there. How do you fix that world? You know, in the Course in Miracles, we always say trying to fix the world is like rearranging the furniture on a Titanic. You know, it's sinking. It's about to go. We get rise above it. So I wrote these 8 things to her. I said, first of all, I don't know how to fix it. In AA, we would say, I am powerless over this. Hear the word surrender again. Except by what I add to it. Now that's something I can work on. I don't know how to fix that, but I know what I add to collective consciousness when I get mad, when I get upset, when I add that energy to it. The second thing is I try, notice the word try. I try to stay out of the energy of fear, hate, and terror, so I don't give energy to it. The more you're in that energy, the more you're adding to the mass consciousness, making it stronger. The third thing is I try to stay centered in the spirit of love and peace and oneness with all that we are connected with. The fourth thing is I pray right now for Korea, for the United States, for the president, for the people, for the terrorists, for the world. Get on your knees and pray. Hand it over. Get on your knees and pray. Fifth, I hold to what principles and truths I believe to be true. Do we just talk about this stuff in unity, or do we really believe it to be true? Number 6, I trust the flow of the awakening process on the planet. That holy instant of sublimity is coming, is going to be there, and we're in that in-between place until it happens. And number 7 is I'm always so proud, you know, I'm on Facebook like many of you are, and I'm so proud when I see posts from people all over the world that are coming together in love and collectively together supporting each other in unity. People really are loving at heart. Most people are loving. Number 8, I trust God and the power of love, period. And then I would add number 9, a new one. Hand it over. Hand it over. Turn it over, let go and let God. Surrender whatever word works for you. Allow God, allow divine love to move in and through this world. Jesus said, the time is right for the harvest. And one by one, whenever you're ready, each one of us rises up in consciousness until collectively enough of us rise up, and we have to just constantly be surrendering to that power of love to lift us up. But that takes trust. How many in here really trust the power of love is going to support you when you surrender? No hands. One little meek one, a few. I've got a great story on trusting the power of love. Before I became a minister, my family was a little leery about unity. What was this unity? They thought I had been kidnapped by some cult or something. And so my Aunt Alice came down to Kansas City. She wanted to check out a church in unity, find out what this was all about. So in Kansas City, there were many choices because there are a lot of unity churches there. That's where our headquarters is. So I took her to this one church that was fairly big, and they had great music and a lot of people, and the energy was something. You walked in, you know how it is in a unity church, the energy just lifts you right up. And you know, people of course were hugging each other, and there was all this happiness and joy. And so we walked out at the end, and I said, well, Alice, I said, what did you think of unity? And she started saying, I thought I had her, she started saying, I don't know, all that love, there's so much love. And I thought, oh good, I got her. But then she finished it with, I just don't trust that. Too much love. That can't be real. Those people are up to something. That can't be real. Do you really trust the power of love to lift you up? Do you really trust? And of course, I have a surrender attachment to my family's approval that I was joining this other church, that I was becoming a minister. After all, priests are men, right? So I really had to let go of any approval that I might get. The last thing we have to surrender is our baggage. All the baggage we carry around, don't we? You know, we're taking this class on the Dalai Lama's book, The Art of Happiness. And the one thing he really stressed from the very beginning is simplicity. And not having a lot of baggage is the best way to be happy. And the people in the world that are most happy are the people that live most simply. Metaphysically, we humans hold on to stuff. And even when we travel, are you like me when I travel? Michael has a regular suitcase and I have the big suitcase, because as a woman you never know what you're going to have to wear, and you've got to have your high heels, your flats, your tennis shoes, you know. So my suitcase is always a little bit bigger. You never know. And then I get frustrated because it just makes the journey a little harder, a little more clumsy. And metaphysically, it's the same way when we hold on to stuff, the resentments, the hurts, the memories, the negative thought patterns. I believe it was Charles Fillmore who said, we judge and label and throw all of it into our mental suitcases, and we feel we're doing a good job of stuffing it all in until we see that it's really weighing us down and not making a difference in the world, nor teaching those others their desired lessons. Letting go of our stuff, what to pack and what to leave behind. Pack light and leave the rest. Hand it over, hand it over, hand it over. Well, speaking of travel, I have a little announcement today. It's a fun one. I'm going to be traveling. I'm fulfilling my bucket list in a week and a half. All my life, since I was a little girl, I've had something on my bucket list and I've never done it. Do you remember when Hawaii became a state and how excited the whole world was, and everybody was going to Hawaii? And year after year I'd see all my friends and relatives going to Hawaii, and I was saying, oh, it's too much money, I can't afford it, I can't do that. Well, this last year has been such a challenging year in the world, and finally I heard a voice one day saying to me, what are you waiting for? You could be dead. You know, what are you waiting for? And I called my travel agent, and we're going to Maui in a week and a half. Yeah. That's what has been on my, it's the only thing on my bucket list. I've had nothing else, because I've done everything I've ever wanted to do except that. And so I am, first of all, I had to surrender. Surrender as to how it was all going to work. I had to give up any stress or struggle about it. I'm just plain going to Maui and trusting in the power of love to make it all happen. And I know each one of us can let go of whatever is holding us back. Let go of whatever struggle is keeping us from peace of mind. And just allowing the power of love to take us there. Let's take that into prayer. Whatever may be holding you back from anything, from peace of mind, from happiness, from freedom, from joy, whatever. Just make that decision to let it go. Asking the Holy Spirit to assist us in letting go of any little thing we might be holding on to yet. I'm willing to let go. I'm willing to release all past memories and hurts, all thought systems that are limiting, all fears and insecurities. I'm willing to let them go. I am the power of love to move forward joyously, confidently. And I say thank you, Father, Mother God. As I hand it over, I hand it over. And I am free, and I am unlimited, and I am joyous in the flow of divine love. And so it is, so it truly is. Amen.